All right, so as promised, we're going to go ahead and start the story of Tim and my downward spiral into what was a pretty bad alcohol addiction that truly manifested as a 24/7 drinking problem when I was in my mid to late 30s. I'm going to start part one here, and I am going to cover right now high school and college and kind of what my drinking habits were at that point in my life. I hope to, with this, help everybody understand the progression of the disease in somebody like me. I tell you what, I can look back at my life and I can see where it was always coming. It was something I was going to have to deal with one way or the other. Yeah, the early days, high school and college, I am going to be able to clue you in on this one. To some tendencies and some habits that I had. Things hadn't gotten terribly bad yet. And then the next one, I'm going to cover the 2 years that I decided right after college to go to grad school. And I moved up north and spent 2 years there. That one's going to get a little bit more eye-opening and a little bit more scary. I'm going to cover my drinking habits. You'll also hear a little bit, and I'm going to leave it to the end of the second one. You know, I'm going to cover how it affects your interpersonal relationships. I discovered alcohol when I was in about 7th or 8th grade, I think. Me and my neighbors, Joe and CB. Shout out, guys, if you're watching this. Joe, I think you see this occasionally, this stuff. But we used to, sneak beers out of garage refrigerators that our parents would have, and we'd kind of go out and sneak somewhere behind some bushes in the neighborhood or whatever, and we'd slam a beer or two between the couple of us. And I recall feeling a distinct comfort in that. I really loved the way that it made me feel. As I got into high school, I found that it was something that not only I liked the way it felt, but it gave me a lot more confidence. I thought it made me funnier, smarter, more socially adept. I wasn't as intimidated to do things like talk to girls, things like that. When I was in high school, honestly, my first drunk did come when I was a sophomore in high school. I spent the night at a friend's house. This friend was originally from Indiana. His father was from the cornfields of Indiana, and he had a jar of moonshine that we got into, and I didn't have that much of it, but I woke up the next morning and I went home. This was in my neighborhood, so I walked home, and I was so sick I couldn't even do my paper route. I actually told my parents what happened. They put me in the back of the car. I had to tell them where to deliver the papers, but they helped me with the paper route. That morning, they were none too happy. I think I got grounded. That was my sophomore year. And then junior year, I didn't really drink that much. Senior year, especially after my senior football season ended, because we kind of had this, the team had this, no partying, or people, didn't party too hard. Our senior year in season, we had a really good football team, and we had a really nice season my senior year. We just were kind of serious about holding off on the partying. It did happen, but not to the extent that it did afterwards. Now, after the season ended, senior year, the floodgates opened. There was beer involved everywhere me and my guys went. It was the focal point of everything we did. I was, out of the group, one of the ones who was among the heaviest of drinkers, and I was not afraid to put them away. I would still say at that point, I didn't see any true red flags then. My drinking habits carried over to college. I didn't drink all the time. I was actually a pretty good student during the week. I focused on my grades. I did have an internship. It was really good. But during the weekends, man, I would binge sometimes. I was in a fraternity. I was always the guy who was not afraid to, drain the rest of the keg at the fraternity house where the party was the night before. If people are cleaning up the next day, and if there was beer left over in the keg, I'd just get into it. Man, it's 12 o'clock somewhere and it's Saturday. And I'd go ahead and do that. No problem with it whatsoever. I was always able to shut it down during the week, but I was notorious for loving to drink. I would have to say, though, that the things that really stick out to me about the younger years No deep problem developing yet, but the things that stuck out to me as early signs of having a problem is the early drinking. The fact that when people poured it on too, I was like always like one of the heavier drinkers, usually, but the early drinking, and that's where I learned this habit of hair of the dog. And I would drink to kill a hangover. I was not afraid to pop a beer in the morning. Like I said, if it's Saturday or even a Sunday, pop a beer and use it to kill my hangover, which is not a good habit to get in. I think that's where a lot of it starts. And number two, I still used the alcohol as a mechanism of increasing my self-confidence, increasing my social, what I thought was my social ability to be fun and things like that, which I really didn't need. Anyway, that was it. High school and college. I don't know that I was in any real extraordinarily dangerous situations or anything like that, but I was a heavy drinker. And I would say if there's one thing you want to look out for people that age is it's, are they drinking early? Is liquor the focal point of everything they're doing, be it beer or something else? And is it a constant thing? But really the early drinking to kill the hangover. That is a major red flag. But that's it. And then after college, graduated, did well. I decided I wanted to go to graduate school right away. It's just something I wanted to do. So I applied, got in, and I went from Central Illinois up to Wisconsin, Milwaukee. I went to Marquette University, from Illinois College, which was a total different culture altogether. I loved that city, loved that place. That's going to be my next video though. And that's where I started noticing some things that were real eye-openers that I can see looking back now. It was starting to really affect me in part two. And I'll explain a little bit more about that when we get there. But for now, I love you all. Thank you for tuning in, listening, and taking an interest in this. So, all right, see you later. Bye-bye.